Hi, good afternoon. My name is Paul Simmons. I'm a fellow analyst at KuppingerCole. And yes, we're going to talk this afternoon about why your business needs a strategic approach to PAM. So I really liked the title of Felipe's talk earlier, which was, is it a culture, project, mindset, or platform? Well, I'm going to argue probably that it's a management imperative. Here's what we're going to look at in the next sort of 15, 20 minutes, the approach you should take. Does it really affect your business? The infrastructural change you need and why you possibly need an HSM. And then have a quick look without trying to steal too much of Marcus's thunder later on, why PAM and DevSecops should be considered in all of this. So without further ado, here's the start of the argument. We're going to look at the approach you should take to privileged access management. And I'm going to argue with you this afternoon that actually we should be rearranging this and actually rearrange this sentence as the approach management should take to PAM. Because my belief very strongly as an ex-global chief security officer is PAM is a senior management issue. And the problem with PAM is that it's sort of lost in the weeds in most large businesses. So, IT says, well, that's just identity and access management, isn't it? Security goes, well, it's an IAM and therefore it's an operational security issue. And management just go, what's PAM? And therefore PAM tends to get lost. And people just don't appreciate the scale of actually what PAM looks like in a large organization. So here's a quick eye test, and I don't expect you to read this. The slides I'm told are going to be available, but here's an example of some of the privileged access accounts used by humans from a super user, an admin account, domain admin, which is sort of what people refer to as the keys to the IT kingdom if you're a Windows shop. And most people tend to be local admin accounts, SSH, secure socket, keys, the emergency accounts, all those backdoor accounts. What happens if our existing method of accessing our systems fail? Guess what? We probably have a backdoor password sitting in a file safe, hopefully sitting in a file safe somewhere within our business for all our key systems. And finally, the privileged business user. And here it's people like, SAP. There are audit companies out there who make their living out of auditing the segregation of duties and the privileged user accounts and what people can do if they have the wrong set of privileges within SAP. So it's all those privileged business user accounts. And I've seen some figures out there that say actually in a large organization, up to 39% of all your staff have some kind of elevated privileges, whether it's on a system they manage or a system they use, or something within that system to do a particular privileged role within that system. 39% potentially. And the last large organization I worked for had 88,000 staff globally. 39% of that is a big, big number. And then, of course, we forget at our peril about all these accounts. So this is non-human privilege. So, it's the application account, and we're going to talk about, obviously, DevSecops in a second. The service accounts, again, SSH keys are used by systems heavily and automated processes. And then, of course, we've got all those secret API keys and other credentials that are used in automated systems and in apps and in DevSecops. So, it is a nightmare, and as I said, people forget about all of these at their peril. So, why my business? Can it really affect your business? Well, the answer absolutely is yes. So, in most organizations, manual or ad hoc PAM, which is what a high percentage of organizations do, is really difficult. Multiple administrators, disparate geographical requirements. In the 90s, I worked as an information security manager for Motorola. And we had our Czech sales operation didn't warrant a full-time IT person. So we had an IT person, a local guy, 2 days a week, really nice guy, 2 days a week, who came in and did our system administration, obviously with admin access. But guess what? He went to work for Nokia, the local Czech office for Nokia, for the other 2 days of the week, and then for someone else on an ad hoc basis on the final day of the week. So where you have disparate geographical requirements, it is really, really important that actually centrally you have some idea of what that admin access entitles them to, what those people are doing with those admin access, and ultimately administrators, in whatever form they come in, have, as people say, the keys to the kingdom. But the key thing here from a risk point of view is to limit, as the military say, the blast radius. If something goes wrong, and to be fair, most of the times things go wrong through to human error rather than malicious, but you have to limit the blast radius. But of course, there are the guys out there, the bad guys out there, who want admin access, and they want it for a whole bunch of reasons. One is you have the insider who's gone bad, the malicious insider. You have the people who, deliberately get jobs inside your organization. We know we have had, when I worked as a global CISO, we had foreign agents working inside our business trying to steal our proprietary information. What do they want? Ultimately, they want to get into certain systems, and the way they easily do that is they get admin access. And then once you're inside an organization, you can jump systems within an organization because a lot of admin is interconnected, especially in the Windows world. So, is it a management issue? If it isn't a management issue within your business, then it certainly should be. And, okay, so this is Paul with scare tactics. It's not. It's, look at the reality. Here are some examples. This guy called Darius Pruger, 2 years in prison after crashing his employer's network. Ultimately, he got fed up. He was a disgruntled employee. Christopher Grew sabotaged Canadian Pacific Railways. And basically locked everybody out. Why? No one quite knows. And of course, the famous one that everyone will quote at you, which is the Edward Snowden leaks. Again, for whatever reason, he felt it was morally right to do what he was doing. For whatever reason, and that's, none of these people were, external. They were all internal inside your organization. So how do you go about this? Well, the first thing is, don't boil the ocean. The biggest mistake we can make when we are trying to develop a PAM access plan is not to boil the ocean. We had within AstraZeneca, when I was global CISO there, we had 137,000 devices connected to our network, and those were permanent connections to our network. Those weren't the kind of temporary personal mobile devices you get today. So don't try to boil the ocean. Identify your critical systems, those systems that are going to be share price affecting if they go wrong. Define and classify the privileged accounts within those systems, and then develop your IT policies. If you don't already have them, probably you do, but you're not implementing them specifically for those systems as you start to discover the privileged account. And then ultimately, you're going to want to look at what your critical set of systems are and go out to the market ultimately and look at a piece of software or whatever that is going to help you do this. Because in a large organization, trust me, you will not do it manually. We'll talk about HSM in a minute, but consider implementing an HSM if you don't already have one. It's a high security module for those of you who don't know the acronym. And of course, least privilege is the absolute rule here. And then, of course, to discover all these people who are either trying to do something bad or are just making horrible mistakes, then actually monitor and record all privileged account activity, if nothing else. So when they do it wrong, you can replay what they did wrong, smack them on the wrists, and retrain them. So PAMs and HSMs, I said I'd talk about high security modules. So when I did some audit a long time ago now, if I wanted to come in and audit your PAM strategy, probably the first question as an auditor I would ask you is, where is and what is the coverage of your high security module? And I suspect 50% of the people you ask that to would go, what's an HSM? And an HSM, if nothing else, shows you are serious about doing privileged access, because your business has this whole bunch of disparate keys absolutely everywhere. The industry, the computer industry, relies, if nothing else, on PKI, public key infrastructure, to actually function. It's the little green padlock on your browser. So the storage of all of those keys and your certificate authority behind it is absolutely critical to your entire infrastructure. So if you are not running an HSM and it doesn't cover all your key systems, then I'm going to immediately argue with you that you just aren't serious about doing PAM. If you're doing PCI DSS, in other words, you take credit cards, then here it's a recommended best practice. So again, if you get a PCI DSS audit and you don't have an HSM, probably they're going to write you up for it. And ultimately, it's about keeping your keys in one place. Storing a key in software can end up virtually anywhere. The HSM keeps the keys, in this case, making it easier to track and safeguard. And ultimately, if implemented properly, that key does not leave your high security module, and you have one module centrally within your organization to actually look after and protect as if it was the crown jewels. So PAM and HSM as a business strategy. Ultimately, what should be going into your PAM and your HSM? The administration of your network components. Bring your own key, especially for cloud. Again, you shouldn't be storing your keys for your cloud services in the cloud service you are storing it, because guess who owns it? The provider, not you. So if someone wants to put a subpoena against you, they go to your cloud provider and say, we would like your organization's data. Please, by the way, don't tell them, because we'll send you to prison if you tell them. So again, you having the master keys means that, yeah, they might go and subpoena your data, but ultimately it's protected with a key that you own. Therefore, they have to come to you, to your legal team, and say, we want to legally look at your data, and then you know about it, and you, if necessary, your legal team and your management can go and fight it. Endpoint management, absolutely lots of keys on your endpoints. Software-defined networking, getting very popular at the moment. And the whole zero trust thing. And again, software-defined networking and zero trust are all about identity and PKI. So really important that those keys go into your HSM. And then, of course, a whole new subject, IoT. You know, we are going to have hundreds and thousands of IoT devices around us that we are connected to in some shape or form as businesses. So again, the keys for those IoT devices is really, really important. So I said I'd say something about DevSecops. So the best example of why this is important, someone once explained to me, she was female, by the way, is explained development, software development in terms of dating for girls. So here's the problem if you're a girl. Yeah, what you're looking for in a guy, assuming you're attracted to guys, is that he has a lot of money, he's rich, he's good looking and handsome, and he can keep your interest. He's intelligent. And the compromise that girls face, I am told, is that actually you can only really ever perm 2 out of the 3. You can never get to the holy grail in the middle. Software development is exactly the same. Ultimately, what you're faced with is a choice. You can either have your software secure, delivered fast, or feature rich, but it's always, you can have 2 out of the 3. It is very difficult to get to all 3. And with my ex-CISO hat on, I'm going to argue with you that it's usually security that gets dumped. The business wants it fast and feature rich, and security tends to take a back seat. And of course, how do we do this in this sort of rapid application development world? Well, again, I'm going to argue with you that the whole privileged access management really helps. I mean, first of all, we talk about DevSecops, in other words, embedding security in the middle of this. But actually, PAM helps you enormously. First of all, because developers need admin access. There's no getting away from it. They have to have it because they have to develop features. They have to develop them at the system level. They have to install and test. And quite often they have to develop lower level system code, which means having the keys to the lower level system. And applications themselves need SSH and, of course, those pesky API keys. So having a PAM strategy that involves the sec in DevSecOps means that you have a much, much better handle on what is going on with your DevSecOps process. And where does it add value? So first of all, if you have a process flow that says, well, yes, you might have privileged access as a developer, but actually you don't have the privilege to push it into the operational environment. Only security can sign that off. It means that actually SEC has to be involved from the ground up, and therefore all those architectural security assumptions are considered. It's what people call shift left. It's find it early, fix it early, get SEC involved early. Yeah, it means that SEC becomes a gatekeeper and PAM assists them in doing that. So in conclusion, why PAM should be a management issue, I hope I've convinced you. The first reason is it helps achieve and, more importantly, prove compliance. If you can turn around to your auditors and say, we have this PAM strategy and we can prove it, and here are the logs, it helps you enormously. It helps you enforce and prove segregation of duties. This person can do this. They can develop code, but they can't push it into the operational environment. So we end up with this wonderful triumvirate of quality, compliance, and security on everything we do inside your organization. Yeah, in a world where humans are your weakest link, and of course, in everyone's digital business out there, privileges are absolutely everywhere. So if implemented properly, ultimately, it allows people to do their jobs. It hopefully makes it more frictionless for people to do their jobs, but allows them to do it better and faster, and in my case, my hat on, more securely. It limits lateral movement. So when the bad guys get in, and don't kid yourself, the bad guys will get into your organization, whether they're the disgruntled employee or whether they're the hacker from outside, they will get into your systems. So again, the PAM strategy says we are going to have least privileged enforced by operationalizing it, and therefore we limit the lateral movement and limit the blast radius inside your organization. And of course, remember, whatever you implement, it needs to be extensible to all key services, and particularly today, because everyone is doing cloud in some shape or form, that must include cloud. And with that, thank you very much.